Like, what's wrong with Aristotle?
He's got a tick.
Yeah, and then I can take picture stills, like camera shots, screenshots, post them everywhere. make make memes out of you. Hey everybody, Koricon here, and look who I got.
What's up, everybody? Aristotle Full Throttle here. How's it going, Koricon?
Oh, I am doing well, sir. It's been a while.
Yes, it has been too long. Way too long.
I mean, you were in my second Creator Spotlight series that's on my other channel, Koricon Nala. And
Koricon Nala,
that was
thank you for that.
That was before I split the channels up. But
yes,
it was a great interview. I think we had some fun. And then you brought me on a live stream for Star Wars.
For The Last Jedi, we did like a recap, and we tapped you in to get to your thoughts on The Last Jedi, and you can check that out on, like, I guess it's backlogged on my channel, the live feed for that. So that was fun, yeah.
But my favorite part of that was the selfie, because you had all of the guys there, and then you're holding the laptop with me on it, and I'm like, ah.
Yeah, I was like, I'm not very technically savvy, so I like, or at least with this stuff, I feel like it changes so much that I have to constantly adapt. So I didn't know what to do that day other than to call you up on the laptop. It's almost like it was pretty funny though, because it worked. It was pretty practical.
Yeah, it did, and we had a great conversation.
Yeah,
but
there's a lot to talk about that movie, and I think there's a lot to talk about in the next Star Wars movie. It's not an installment. It's it's a spin-off, right?
Well, they call it the anthology series. It's
okay.
Stories that don't take place in the Skywalker saga, but they're stories that take place during that time period, I guess, or just in the Star Wars universe in general. Now, the two that they did were Rogue One and now Solo. They both happened during the Skywalker saga, but I think for future movies, the anthology series could take place at any time period.
Yeah, and I feel like that's the beauty of the Star Wars universe, is you can just go thousands of years in any direction. And the thing that I've always loved about the Star Wars universe in general is that it's like in medias res, which is, I guess that's like the Latin term for like you're just like thrust into the middle of a story. So like you don't ever really have to know the origins necessarily of, like, so there was the prequels, which felt like they explained too much about the origins of a lot of things, like Boba Fett, midichlorians, sort of like demystifying everything. And I just like the fact that the original Star Wars 1977 was just, you're put in the middle of a story and you don't know how you got there, but you want to know where it's going. So that's the beauty of Star Wars. I think you can do that in any time period. You can go thousands of years backwards and do the same thing. And
well, I think
it's all like old and new technology, it seems like.
Yeah, with these current anthology movies, they're going to kind of stick around the Skywalker saga just because it's familiar. Like people know who Chewbacca is. You know, they know who Han Solo is, even though he's a younger version. You know, they know that some of these characters.
Shorter version by about a foot.
Yeah. So you had mentioned this when we were talking off air that, you know, Harrison Ford is like 6'2". He's about my height.
Yep.
I don't know why they didn't cast me. But anyway.
Yeah. No, you've got the hair for it.
I do have
definitely have the hair for it.
I also got about 200 pounds on him.
Well, I think you could still do a better job. And I don't know. I haven't seen Alden Ehrenreich's performance fully yet in context, so I can't really make that call.
So I did want to talk about that, but first on the height thing.
Yeah.
I know I've seen some stuff online of people going, he's not tall enough. Now, they said the same thing about Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, only in the opposite direction. Because he's 6'2", and Wolverine was really like 5'4", or something like that, I think.
I think he's like 5'1" or 5'2".
5'2", man. He's really short.
Yeah.
But
he's a tiny little guy, but fierce.
And if you look at any superhero movie, they don't look like the characters in the comic books.
Right.
Half of them look like The Rock. But you can't have The Rock play everything.
Yeah, although he's trying. I think The Rock is trying. He's going to play Black Adam in Shazam, and he's pretty much everywhere all the time.
Jumanji was good, but some of his others...
Yeah. He could help try to save. I don't know, they haven't put him in the X-Men universe yet, but he is a franchise saver.
Well, and with CGI, you can make them more like the comic books. Like with Deadpool, they made Colossus exactly the way he was in the comic books. Like, it's the closest I've ever seen a comic book character realized visually.
Yeah, that was cool. I liked that a lot, actually.
But you would have to have a CGI character. It can't be a human looking. Like, you couldn't do that with a Superman or Superman's mustache. You know, you would have to do it with a character that would look alien or made of metal or something that's not human.
Yeah, sort of like suspend that disbelief of what you, yeah, exactly.
But if they use CGI to make Shazam, it wouldn't work right.
You couldn't make Shazam look like that because it would probably do that whole uncanny valley thing where you're looking. We would know the difference between a real person and something that's CG still. And they still really haven't gotten out of that uncanny valley.
Nah, like, well, Princess Leia in Rogue One was horrible looking. But
yeah, even for that half a second.
Yeah, that half a second was like a horror movie. But Grand Moff Tarkin looked good for short scenes.
Yeah.
And like we had, the guy's
performance was good too.
It was. His voice was spot on. But I think, like you had mentioned,
file when ready.
Yeah, exactly. And I think you had mentioned in one of our previous videos that we did last year that, or maybe it was someone else, but a lot of those scenes should have gone to Darth Vader. Like, there wasn't really a need for Tarkin to do a lot of those scenes when people wanted Vader anyway. If you if you had used Tarkin in a more minimalistic way, the CGI would have looked great. People are like, "Oh wow, that was cool," but you wouldn't be analyzing it for as long as we had to.
Right, because it was like after a while, you're like, "Oh, this is still going on." There's like a extended scene here.
A major character. What the heck?
Yeah. And it's funny though, because I do look at those scenes and like the same hairs are like out of place and stuff because they like scanned all of the frames from the original Star Wars. So it was like,
yeah,
it's kind of weird. I'm like, Tarkin, you want to borrow a comb or something?
Those hairs, man.
What was that?
It was like those specific hairs. It's like cowlicks. He could never get them in place.
Yeah, like I feel you, bro. On that, I do have specific feelings about how Darth Vader was used in that movie in Rogue One, but that might be a conversation for another day. But do
you think they're going to try and throw Vader into this one as well? I hope they don't.
I feel like he's such a commodity for Lucasfilm and Star Wars that they're going to try to exploit him as much as possible.
The thing is, like, I love Vader. And I would love a standalone Vader movie that takes place during that 20 years in between 3 and 4. That would be awesome. Something like
a Vader Obi-Wan sort of.
Well, something like right in the middle, you know, like 10 years after and 10 years before 4, somewhere in there. And then that would be cool. But kind of peppering him into every anthology movie, I would rather have the stories just be on their own and not feel like you have to throw in famous characters just to give it validity. You know, the story itself should be the validity.
Yeah, like you should be sold on the characters in the story and go along with the plot. Like that should be any movie. And right now, obviously, like Lucasfilm and Star Wars needs to bring in I don't know how hard they need to work at bringing in audiences though. Because I mean, you buy as soon as I know a Star Wars movie is coming out, I'm going to buy the ticket. And I think they've got that built-in audience, and it's interesting. I mean, Vader all the time, but in sparing amounts. It seems like they're just sort of like.
It seems desperate.
Teasing. Yeah.
Well, like when I first heard about these anthology movies, I was excited because I was like, okay, so we're going to get some smaller stories, not these huge space opera epic stories, but we're going to get some smaller stories like what we would have in the comic books or what we would get from Clone Wars or one of the animated shows, more of those personal, smaller stories. And Rogue One was kind of like that. It was like an in-between. Like it was trying to be epic but small at the same time. Mm-hmm. And this one, Solo, the reason the last trailer sold me was because it's more of a heist movie. They're basically going to be stealing from this mob boss, this gangster guy. And so it's a small story. It's like Ocean's 11, but only with Han Solo, Chewbacca, and Lando. So I hope they do that and keep it a smaller storyline. And I don't want Vader to pop up at the end and then they have to fight him. Like,
right.
Plus, it wouldn't make sense for what happens in Episode 4 when Han Solo is saying, I've been all over this galaxy and I've never seen anything to let me know of something of the Force. If he met Darth Vader, it'd be like, no, yeah, you did.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that is interesting. Yeah, like, are they going to use the Force? Are they going to show any like lightsabers? Are they going to? Because he does specifically mention that Han Solo that he does not believe in any of this like mumbo jumbo stuff. Right. So maybe he doesn't counter it and then tries to like push it out of his mind or something, or say that like try to not believe it. But do you think there's going to be use of the Force?
I hope not. Movie? I don't think so. I'm hoping not. I do not want the Force in this movie at all because of that line in A New Hope. If the original Star Wars, the one that started this whole thing, he specifically says, I don't believe in this mumbo jumbo. I've been all over the universe. I've never seen anything that would explain that. And so if they put it in this movie, then it'll be one of the first Star Wars movies that I would be like, I don't want it. I don't want to own it. Like, and I don't want to see it again because you just negated the original movie.
Yeah, it's really tough because there are a lot of times I feel like in the entire saga, the Skywalker saga, that there are moments of negation, like the midichlorians moment, and but even going back to Return of the Jedi, I think it is, or no, was it? Yeah, it might have been Return of the Jedi with Obi-Wan's blue ghost when he says, "So what I told you was true from a certain point of view."
Yeah.
So
but we don't need Han Solo doing that too.
Yeah.
I mean, it's such a thing is like the midichlorians and like a lot of that stuff you can, like they just don't mention that word in the new series,
Yeah.
They just
and I think
talk
specifically the Last Jedi, I think specifically tried to really squash that by just saying anybody can access the Force. The Force is just it's a way of concentrating your mind.
But that's like one word where people can kind of forget that happened, But this was a very specific, detailed scene. Like, and it's like, to the camera, I'm stating this fact.
Yep.
And then you change it in this, that would be, it's too definitive for me. It's not a gray area like some of the like midichlorian stuff sounds like a gray area. You just don't use that word and it doesn't affect it.
Yeah. But and that's the fascinating thing about Han Solo's character, because in The Force Awakens, he's like, it's true, all of it. The Force, the Jedi, like he has come full circle. Yeah. So that's his arc, is like he ends up fully being a believer.
Well, the other reason I don't want the Force in the movie is because I want this to be a small, self-contained storyline. I don't want the epic space opera stuff to get in here. You know, I love Rogue One, but I think it would have been better if it was smaller in the story. So I want this one to be smaller.
I recently rewatched it, and I now appreciate Rogue One a lot more than I used to. It does feel like that second half does feel like an in the trenches war movie. And I didn't appreciate that the first time around. But yeah, it was, you know, it's also got to check those Star Wars check boxes, which is like all the different planets and like the sort of adventure of going here and there and the Force. And so, although they didn't quite explicitly use the Force in Rogue One, except for, I guess, Darth Vader does. He's tossing people around.
Well, Donnie Yen.
Yeah.
But he doesn't use the Force, like, he doesn't move stuff around.
Right. But I think the way that they addressed that is he just really concentrating, or like, it wasn't like specifically magical. It was just him sort of having faith. I think when they showed Darth Vader, he's crushing people and tossing them aside and stuff.
Yeah.
So.
From what I understand, that the Force users, besides Jedi and Sith, but other Force users, have different grades of Force. So it can be like if you're looking at Harry Potter, you have some people that can't do a lot of magic and some people that are really powerful, and then it would be the same kind of thing. People can use small portions of the Force, or maybe one thing that they've been able to unlock. And what Donnie Yen's character did was he was able to tap into that part where he would have that sixth sense of knowing where things are, since he's blind.
Yeah.
And so he was using the Force, but a very small part of it.
Yeah, I think so. I think so too. But the way it played on screen, if you didn't ever see a Star Wars movie, he might like, wow, this guy's crazy. Like, I feel like it doesn't, like, there's no, like, you know, like, he's great. He's just going to walk into the middle of a battlefield and fight all these guys. Maybe he's just a ninja. Maybe he just is, like, just really honed in, or, you know, but I think it kind of plays that way in a sense that it's not specifically mystical, but then it does when Vader's like, don't choke on your aspirations and all that stuff.
But it does make sense. You can believe that this guy would be crazy and just go in there, because it is Donnie Yen, and he could go in there and do all of that stuff. So
exactly,
it is believable. I believe it.
I did like that layer, though. That's another checkbox for the Star Wars movies. I feel like every subsequent Star Wars movie introduces a new aspect of the Force.
Yeah, what would Solo introduce? Like, I guess maybe some ships, but is it going to introduce anything? Because I think the big thing that Solo is really supposed to give us is how he and Chewbacca got together and why Chewie owes him his life.
Right.
The Kessel Run. And how he got the Millennium Falcon. Even though we know he got it from Lando in a game, but I mean the more of the details of how he acquired it. Yeah.
It'll be fun to see that play out.
And then maybe what happened to their relationship that made him think he was going to get beat up in Empire Strikes Back when he showed up at the Cloud City.
Oh yeah, it's like, hey, how you
doing? So maybe they show that too. You know,
you got a lot of nerve showing your face after what you pulled.
Man, you do that really well. That sounded like Billy D. You must have watched that scene over and over again.
I watched The Empire Strikes Back a couple times. I've seen it a couple dozen, couple hundred, maybe.
I probably have. I have no idea how many times I've seen those movies.
I've probably seen it around 40 times, maybe. I'd say 40 to be
'Cause I
realistic.
would just have it playing in the background sometimes when I'm doing things, but because I can't handle silence.
Yeah.
I need to have something. So when I'm trying to concentrate on work, like I have two monitors, I'll have a movie or something I don't have to pay attention to that will be
Yeah.
playing. And sometimes that, but I don't, so I don't have no idea how many times I've seen those movies because it could have just been playing in the background and I wasn't really noticing.
Now that you say it that way, yeah, I've probably seen it a lot more because of that. Yeah. And it's just one of the great movies. I always find it remarkable that the movie Star Wars comes out. It's critically acclaimed and it's the biggest movie of all time. And then 3 years later, The Empire Strikes Back comes out, and it's arguably better than the first movie that comes out.
And the best sequel of all time.
It is, yeah. It's just like it just takes
Now,
everything.
some people would say Aliens is better than Alien, and that's
Yeah.
the best sequel ever made. But I would give it to Empire because
Empire.
I do love Alien. I think it was a great movie, and Alien and
I
Aliens
just
are different
rewatched it
genres.
last night. That The Dark Knight is also one of the best sequels as far as like
Yeah,
big blockbuster action, iconic characters. You've got Batman Begins, solid, good movie, and then The Dark Knight is just probably, in my opinion, one of the best movies from that decade, from 2000 to 2010. Like I think The Dark Knight is in the top 10, 20 movies of that whole decade.
Oh, I would totally
just
agree.
a great movie. People who don't even like, my brother doesn't even necessarily, he calls them comic book movies. I just call them movies. But he's like not interested. He's not interested, but he still to this day goes on and on about how good The Dark Knight is, and just shows it.
My brother is the same way. He doesn't like comic book movies that much, but he has like a core maybe 5 that he'll like Deadpool and Dark Knight. He's got his core ones that he enjoys.
Yeah.
Now I agree. I think Dark Knight is one of the best sequels ever made. Empire Strikes Back, but what I like about those two is they were a part of a trilogy.
Yeah.
So they were involved with the first movie. The thing about
Right.
the thing about Aliens is, yeah, it's involved kind of with the first movie because it has Sigourney Weaver, but it's a totally different genre. The first
Yeah.
movie is a suspense thriller, borderline horror movie, and the second one is just a sci-fi action blow 'em up.
Yeah. And it's James Cameron. And speaking of James Cameron, I think Terminator 2 needs an honorable mention here too.
Oh,
Terminator
man.
2.
How many good sequels were there? There can't be that many.
Well, there aren't that many. I think there's like one a decade, one every decade probably. But yeah, the Terminator 2, again, like sort of building on what you're saying, is first Terminator is a horror movie. It's kind of just a sci-fi horror movie. And the second Terminator is this blockbuster shoot 'em up sci-fi adventure
Action.
whatever. Action movie.
Yeah, it's the same kind of thing like Alien. I agree.
And I think that's what we should expect with the next Avatar movie then, and Titanic 2.
They already did a Titanic 2 direct to DVD.
Oh, good Lord.
I didn't see it, but I know it exists. So with
Good golly.
going back to Solo, I think this movie is going to be a lot better than people think. And I'm almost wondering if Disney is, leaked things or allowed things to leak to bring down people's expectations.
Interesting theory.
Now, I don't know if they did it on purpose, but maybe they were like, let's not fight that rumor. We'll just let them think that. Just like the United States allows people to think there's aliens at, Area 51. Because then they're not concentrating on all the secret airplanes that they're building. They're thinking about the aliens.
Exactly.
So like the whole thing with the acting coach. Almost,
Right.
a lot of movies have acting coaches. Even if they don't do anything, they're still there. Or
Yep.
they may be there to help with a specific scene or a specific accent or just one little detail. But they're not there because the actor is really bad and they're just trying to hold their hand through the whole movie.
Yeah, like I refuse to believe Alden Ehrenreich is a bad actor. Like,
Exactly.
I don't think. Yeah.
Also,
Like,
they fired the directors for not following the script. And they had
that
because Kasdan wrote the script. And
yeah, with his son, right, John?
no, Kasdan,
Oh.
the guy who wrote Empire.
Yeah, Lawrence Kasdan, I think, and his son.
Oh,
they
yeah.
co-wrote.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. So Lawrence, Jonathan Kasdan, that's his name.
Jonathan.
But Lawrence Kasdan wrote the script. Jonathan helped with the screenplay. Now,
Oh, okay.
when they hired the other two guys from Lego, can't remember their names.
Lord and Miller.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
The dailies that they were getting back, they were just allowing a lot of improv, and they were just kind of going in their own direction. They were doing their thing, which you shouldn't have hired them for that in the first place if you wanted them to follow a script.
Right.
So
look at 21 and 22 Jump Street and the Lego Movie. Yeah.
So it's partially, Lucasfilm's fault. They're like, oh, these guys are good. They'll add humor. Yeah, but the way they add humor is they go totally off script and just go wherever it takes them. And so they wanted somebody that could follow
where the fun. Well, they go where they follow the funny. They don't necessarily follow the script.
Exactly.
They just go. Yeah. My name's Jeff.
So with the reason they brought in Ron Howard is they know him, they're comfortable with him, and they know that he would film the script and he would do a very good job with the directing part. He's a great Hollywood director. Exactly. He's a safe, really good, here you go, this is what you wanted, and I will give it to you kind of director, and he will film it well. But he refilmed most of the movie. It was like over 50% or something like that.
I heard up to 90%.
Yeah,
which is insane.
If you're willing to fire your directors and refilm 90% of your movie, if your main actor is bad, why wouldn't you just fire him and get someone else at the same time?
Interesting. Maybe because it would just be horrible press.
No.
Yeah, maybe like
they already fired the directors. You'd fire an actor, it's like just added to it, and it's all done at the same time. It would be the same amount of bad press.
And they added Paul Bettany. They added him after they hired Ron Howard. So they're like, here's a new character for the movie. So,
or maybe they had that character in mind, but they didn't have an actor there, or the guy they had wasn't what they wanted. Ron Howard was probably like, I like this character. I don't like the guy playing him. I want Vision. I have a vision that Vision is in this movie.
Had a vision. I just rewatched that the other day, Age of Ultron, actually.
I'm kind of going through the Marvel movies in preparation, but I don't know if I'll be able to see them all before next week.
Yeah, I'm trying to like catch up on just the Avengers stuff. So, because it's pretty remarkable about Marvel, but that's another show. How they've like strung together. Like Captain America movies are all. There's a through line through those, even though there's a greater through line through all the movies, and the Avengers movies also have a through line.
Yeah.
Which I'm just, those guys, my hat's off.
Yeah.
I couldn't fit a hat on this head anyway, so hats off.
Hopefully some of that bleeds over into some future Star Wars movies. But I don't, at the same time, I don't need everything to connect to each other. Just be true to the universe. So that's why I was excited for the anthology movies. I wanted small stories, kind of like what I wanted this movie to feel like was like Firefly in Star Wars.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what I want. But I think with Lucasfilm wasn't fighting all the rumors about the acting coach and the director change and how much was filmed. They didn't fight any of that. And I think part of the reason was, once it got out and they started doing all this stuff, they're like, let's just not say anything. And if it turns out really good, they'll be surprised word of mouth, because they know that they've got that core amount. There's that core people like you and me that are going to see anything that has Star Wars on it, including a bootlegged VHS version of the holiday special from 1978.
Which I've watched at least 4 or 5 times.
Same
already.
here.
Caravan of Courage.
Yeah. They know that they have us already. And so if we start saying that it's really good, then the normal word of mouth that makes every movie hit will end up bringing everybody else in. As long as the reviews are big and the Rotten Tomatoes score and all of that stuff. So they know they're going to have a decent opening weekend. If they let people think have their expectations be low like it is right now, then anything that is medium or higher is just going to be a good movie. Like, we're just going to be really happy. But if our expectations are like, Last Jedi, and we don't get that, then anything they make is going to be crap.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. They've really not done. I mean, they've tried to reassure that it's going to be fine. They're like, hey, look, Ron Howard,
And that did. And when they hired him, I was like, oh, well, he'll do good.
Yeah, it was like a nice save there. You called in a ringer. It was interesting that Ron Howard was available to do it.
Well, my immediate thought was, why didn't you get him the first time? I would much rather have him than the other guys anyway.
He seems like he would have been like a much better choice right off the bat.
I wonder if his schedule didn't work when they were in pre-production, but since they had gotten through all of that, it had opened up by then, and he's like, yeah, tag me in. I'm good.
Yeah. I mean, I was excited for Lord and Miller because I like their movies, and I was excited to see a really screwball, goofy version of Solo. I'm like belying the fact that like you were saying before, you'd rather it be called Lando than Solo because of the way Donald Glover comes off in the trailers.
Yeah, he's sold me. Now, the Lord and Miller would be good in a Marvel movie. Like Thor Ragnarok was epic. They would fit in that just fine. They could fit in the Star Wars universe if you're doing funny characters, like maybe a droid movie or something that involves side characters or just, funny characters in general. But for something like this, Ron Howard would be perfect. Like, if they had announced Ron Howard to begin with, I'd be like, oh yeah, that's perfect. That fits just fine. So when they said he was going to take over, I was perfectly happy.
Yeah, like I felt like I was like pretty confident. I was like, that's a pretty good move. And I kind of understand it from the standpoint of a major studio. And Lawrence Kasdan, I hear, was very and I remember reading the reports. Like, I don't necessarily blame the studio for firing the directors, but I was actually reading reports before they fired the directors that Lawrence Kasdan was very unhappy that he would be on set and they weren't necessarily filming his script. And he wrote The Empire Strikes Back. He co-wrote, he co-wrote Return of the Jedi, and he co-wrote The Force Awakens. And so he's got his finger on the pulse of what Star Wars should look and feel like. Mm-hmm. And so I guess he's got a little bit more pull over at Lucasfilm because he was not happy with what was going on and probably was talking to Kathleen Kennedy. He's like, look, this is my script. This might be my last Hollywood script that I'm ever going to do because I think he's retiring after this. And he's like, I just want you to shoot my movie.
Well, like Ron Howard reminds me a lot of, in Empire Strikes Back, that director was Irvin Kershner. Mm-hmm. I always say his first name wrong. But anyway, he did some things that weren't exactly to Kasdan's script, but they made sense at that moment. Like the whole line of "I love you," and he says "I know."
I know.
That was an
Yeah.
improv moment, but he had filmed the script version already, and it just wasn't working for him, and so that's when he improved. It seemed like Lord
Right.
and Miller were just improving in general and not even filming the script at first.
Yeah, well, I heard they would do like 1 or 2 takes of the script and then just do like 6 or 7 takes of improv. And then they were saying like, oh, we'll find it in the editing bay. They'll find the movie in the editing bay. So that was probably making the producers sweat and throw up in their mouths.
That would make
they don't
me
like to hear that.
That would make me want to throw up in my mouth. I'm like, this is not the kind of movie you can just make in the edit.
Yeah.
You know, you can't do that.
Exactly. 22 Jump Street, yes.
Yeah.
It's just a screwball comedy. There's no special effects involved, other than the fact that they jump out of a helicopter and explode and all that stuff. I love that movie. I think it's the best comedy sequel.
Back to
I don't know
sequels. Why. No, it is. It's a
What's
funny
that?
one. It is a funny sequel. There's some movies you can make in the edit, but when you have a movie like this or a really big budget film, you have to be very specific about what scenes you're going to include, because especially when one scene that you cut out could cost you millions of dollars.
Yeah.
That's why they cut them out in previs, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like they spend a lot of money or a lot of time making sure they don't spend a lot of money.
Yeah.
For sure.
But
that's true.
Like we were saying before, Lando. I think it should be called Lando. I would like a movie just about Lando with Donald Glover. Like,
yeah,
I would
definitely go.
Yeah, do another anthology movie called Lando and have it take place before he meets Han. Like, Donald Glover is perfect. Now, when we saw the teaser and you just had that split second of him like smirk at the camera, I was like, I was sold. I was like, that's Lando.
Yep.
But then in the trailer, when he's doing the scene where he's like holding the glass.
Yeah. It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's so pitch perfect. It feels like, yep, that's definitely a younger Lando. Just sort of perfect. Like, if you remember Lando from Empire and Jedi, he was just like that suave, smooth guy.
Yep.
And he's got a cool arc of his own, too, from going from that scoundrel to a hero, a general and a hero.
Yeah.
Who destroys the second Death Star. Nobody gives props necessarily to the fact that Lando Calrissian destroyed the second Death Star. And but yeah, Donald Glover is nailing it from everything in those trailers.
Now,
I think it's
perfect. I saw, well, I don't know who had mentioned it. I guess I saw it in passing on social media. A couple of people like retweeting or sharing, but I don't normally read those things. But the headline was something like, some people were concerned that Donald Glover was too suave, like he was overdoing. I'm like, so you want a character to be insanely confident and suave, like Billy D. Williams was, and now you're saying he's too suave? That's like That's like saying Ash from Evil Dead is too over the top.
Exactly.
Like, you can't go any more over the top. So
it's perfect.
I think
smashing plates over his head.
Yeah, exactly. I think Donald Glover is playing it perfect. I think he's, and I heard a story he had said. I don't remember what talk show it was, but he was doing an interview, and they asked him about, when he got the role. He had immediately called his parents. Of course, he wasn't supposed to tell anyone, but who doesn't listen to that? You got to tell your parents, right? So he called his dad, and he was talking to his dad, and he told him that he's going to play Lando. And his father yells it out because his mom was doing the dishes or something, and he could hear his mom in the background because she was in love with Billy D. Williams, and she was unapologetic. She was unapologetic about it. She would. Would leave her husband for Billy D if she had the chance, kind of thing. But he could hear her in the background go, "Don't mess this up." That was her only concern. And so I think the pressure of Mom and his just in general awesomeness is going to be my highlight.
He's a geek for sure, and he knows the Star. I'm sure he's like got his finger on the pulse with Star Wars and all that.
Yeah, he is one of the kings of nerds.
Yeah,
like everything he does, I love.
Yeah, I mean he was even writing the Deadpool animated series, and he got fired from that.
Yeah,
but they were like,
I loved his
"Did you hear that report?"
I loved his response. They're like, well, he doesn't have the time to write the script. He's like, really? Here's the script I wrote.
Yeah, here's the last episode of the entire season, by the way.
Right.
Yeah.
Here you go. I had plenty of time. I did it. It's already been done.
That's crazy that they put him in that position. But that was a pretty funny response. And I don't even think he said, all he said was like, by the way, I wasn't too busy. And then he just he tweeted out the whole script.
Yeah.
So fun.
That is like perfect gold. Like, you don't have to be mean or, cuss at the studio or do anything. Just be like, oh, really? Drop.
Amazing. Yeah, I think he's going to nail Lando and in his performance. So I'm looking forward to that. And hopefully they gave him a lot more to do, maybe, because I don't know, the reports that Alden Ehrenreich just wasn't capturing the essence of Solo, or wasn't necessarily doing a good impression of Harrison Ford, which I don't think it needs to be. I think it just needs to feel right.
Yeah. But the thing is, that is going to be very difficult to do. It's going to be difficult to, give the feeling of Harrison Ford Solo. Because it's like trying to give... Now, I would say it's like trying to give the feeling of Indiana Jones, but River Phoenix did pull that off in The Last Crusade.
Nailed it, yeah.
He nailed it.
He really felt like a young Harrison Ford.
So it's possible. Yeah. I'm just saying, it's possible. But
it is.
I don't want him to do an impression of Harrison Ford. That always turns out bad when you try to do an impression of another character.
Right. Unless you're Carl Urban as Bones. I think that's pretty good.
That is true.
I think that's the only time it worked.
He nailed that.
Yeah. I feel like I'm trying to think of other times it's happened, but I can't really think of many times. But Carl Urban, when I'm watching the Star Trek movies, the new ones, I'm like, he's straight up doing DeForest Kelley. Like that. Yeah. That's his...
Because Simon Pegg does a Scottish accent, but he's not doing... He's not doing that. He's not doing Scotty. He's doing his version of. Yeah, he's not doing. Mm-hmm. He's not doing James. But Carl Urban is straight up just doing DeForest Kelley, 100%.
But it's good.
It works.
Like it. It feels good. It feels good and it works.
Well, I guess
he's a good.
I guess Anton Yelchin, he did an imitation of. Chekhov. Yeah, it's pretty much the same character. Very similar, and that's an aside, but I'm wondering how they're gonna send off Chekhov after this because of Anton Yelchin's unfortunate demise last year, that's really sad. It is, and it was a really weird circumstance.
Just a freak accident. Ugh.
Well, with Solo, we'll wrap this up, but I'm hoping for Kessel Run, how he saved Chewie's life, how he got the Millennium Falcon, and what happened between him and Lando. Other than that, I want all of that to kind of fit into that heist movie. And I think the fact that if they keep the story a simple heist movie, then they can fit all of that stuff on top of it. But if you try and make the core story too complicated, then you're going to have a hard time fitting in all of that other stuff.
Right. And we don't want to see necessarily Darth Vader, although I think he will be teased. And there might even be some Death Star construction, because remember at the end of episode 3, they were putting the dish in. Death Star. So we might, I don't know, another movie with a Death Star, another Star Wars movie.
I don't want any Death Star. I don't want any Jedi, no Sith, nothing. I just want a solo story before any of that, without any of that stuff involved. No forces, no nothings. Just a good heist movie.
I hope so too. I think it's interesting that they do mention how old Chewbacca is in the trailer. He's like, you're 190 years old.
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty.
Because Wookiees can.
And there's another Wookiee.
Yeah, we have another Wookiee. Is that his wife?
His wife's name is Nala, I think, by the way. I don't know if it's Koricon Nala, but it's Nala. She is in the holiday special, so I don't know if this is canon or not, but I did like, however, the fact that I kind of look at Wookiees and humans as like a reverse dog relationship, because you know how like throughout a human's life we might have several different dogs. I feel like throughout a Wookiee's life they have several different humans. so now Chewbacca has inherited Rey after Han Solo. So
well, and what I'm happy from this trailer saying that he's 190 years old is I had to keep explaining to people when The Force Awakens came out. They're like, why does Chewie doesn't have gray hair? Why isn't he to look old? And I'm like, he lives 400 years. He's only, what, 260 or something in the movies now? He's like, he's still in the prime of his life. He's not going to go gray for another 100 years or so.
And I love it too. It's just like, and it keeps the continuity. It keeps the familiarity of Star Wars. And I mean, I didn't question it for a second. I'm like, sure, Chewbacca, still youngish, still fighting sheep.
I don't know why I knew it though, but I knew Wookiees lived 400-ish years. I don't know how I knew that. I just knew it from something. Probably, you know. I mean, my whole entire nerd life, I've picked up a lot of nerd facts. I have no idea where they came from. But I knew that he was supposed to be around 200 years old when the original movie happened.
Okay, that makes sense.
I think he was 200 in episode 4.
Okay, because he says you're 190, so I guess it's like 10-ish years, a decade before the trilogy. Okay.
And so I knew he would live 400, and then when The Force Awakens came out I was like, oh, okay, he's like 260-ish. 250, somewhere around there, and he's still in the prime of his life. And then everyone's like, "Why isn't Chewbacca gray?" And I'm like, "Seriously?" Now I don't have to like mention that anymore. I can just point to Solo and be like, "See?
Yeah,
he's already old."
When 400 you reach, look as good you won't. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, same thing with Yoda. You know, he was 900. Right. But they did kind of try to make him look a little younger in episode 1, and I'm like, really? It's not going to really make.
Yeah.
You're not going to look that.
When you're 840.
Yeah.
You're going to look the same as 900.
Yeah.
You may move a little slower, I guess. But no.
Yeah. He's got the cane.
Yeah, maybe if you go back 700 years to when he was only 200, you know, he would be kind of spry, you know.
I think so.
I wouldn't mind seeing like I can't say a Knights of the Old Republic because that was before Yoda, but you know, somewhere around there that happened when he was like maybe 200. I wouldn't mind seeing something like that.
See Yoda in his prime.
Yeah. See Yoda just kicking butt. Little Kermit flying around like he did in Attack of the Clones.
Yeah, I have such an issue with that scene. I just don't think that you need to. Like, it goes against everything he taught in The Empire Strikes Back, which was size matters not. You should just be. I think the moment that was great was when I think it was Dooku tried to use Force Lightning on him,
Yeah.
And then he just catches it. And he says, a lot to learn you have. Yeah. I was like, that is cool.
And he doesn't redirection it. Like there's a lot that you see will redirection it or they'll catch it with the lightsaber. But he was so powerful that he caught it into a ball and then absorbed it.
Yeah. He's like, a lot to learn you have.
He's like, thank you for that. It's like, oh my God. It's like, geez,
and then he takes up the lightsaber. And I'm like, not the lightsaber.
Like my favorite scene.
But like the halfling lightsaber.
Yeah. Like my favorite Yoda scene from the prequels was in the third movie when he comes in to, confront Palpatine. And you have the two guards that are standing at the door. And he walks in and he just goes like this, and the guards like fly. It was like a very simple.
That was perfect.
Yeah, it was perfect timing and everything. He's like, "Meh," and he's still limping with his cane as he comes. Go fly.
And those are like badass guards. They're like the Praetorian, the Imperial Guard level. Yeah, it's just like.
Yeah, he's like. Whatever.
They're just toast. That's what I want. Yeah, that's exactly what I wanted to see from Yoda. I didn't want to see him bouncing around like a little Kermit.
Like Kermit. But again, coming back to Solo, our conversations go all over the place. We should probably do a live stream together where we just ramble on for hours. But anyway.
Yeah, I could talk about Star Wars all day.
Yeah. So with Solo, I'm hoping for those core things wrapped around a simple heist movie. And it just be fun and good, and that's what I think we will get.
Yeah, it looks good. It looks like it's going to be a fun summer movie, and I think you might have to just go in there with the, I guess, lower expectations, like maybe Disney wants us to, and just turn off your mind and see if it's a good time.
Go have fun and laugh at Chewbacca and check out Lando. And the rest is just gravy.
Very cool. I'm looking forward to it. As always, it's Lawrence Kasdan, and he hasn't let me down yet.
Yep. Now, we are going to be on your channel. What are we doing over there?
Well, we're going to talk about the state of Lucasfilm and the future of Lucasfilm, because now I don't know how many, this is going to be the fourth movie after, with the new Disney-owned Lucasfilm. So where are they going? Because there's been a lot of mixed reaction to The Last Jedi, and we don't even know what to think necessarily about Solo, other than it looks like it might be good. So where can Disney possibly go, or Lucasfilm possibly go from here?
Oh, and I have a lot of thoughts for you too. I got some good ones. I didn't want to mention them during this because I tried to keep this more Solo-centric. More Solo. But,
right. We should do our own Lando and Solo movie right here. Look at this split screen right here.
Heck yeah. Actually, I look more like Chewbacca. I'm tall and hairy. I can have a scratchy voice. Yeah, see, I look like your shirt, man. If I just had some hair right here.
The hair is very similar.
Yeah, and I got the beard slick. Going. Totally.
I always thought it was funny that like Lando had the mustache and like Chewbacca sort of has a mustache.
Yeah, it's more like he's got biker handles on a hairy face.
Yeah, he's got just like double mustache.
Double mustache. All right, so go on over to Aristotle's channel and check out our discussion on Lucasfilm. Thank you for watching this one on Solo. Also, I've got stuff and interviews on my second channel, which is Koricon Nala. Well, I guess that's technically my first channel. So if you like Indian content, I just recently interviewed some famous Indian people. So go check that out. And like, share, subscribe to him as well. Tell your friends, and we will see you on the next video. Bye.